Welcome to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Thom. It is Wednesday, April 5th, and there is a lot going on, which is why I'm very pleased to be joined by Skype by Representative Mark Pocan from the great state of Wisconsin. Representative Pocan, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Alex. Thank you.
So there is so much going on that I kind of want to let you tell me what you think the big news going on right now is.
You know, I'll tell you, ever since the failure of Trump Care, there's been lots of things going on, but I don't know if we know where the Republicans are exactly going.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we saw was the interesting articles today about the White House has been telling the Tea Party, the Freedom Caucus, one thing about the future of healthcare, and then telling the moderates and the people in swing districts another thing. So they're kind of playing everyone against everyone, and it's an interesting thing to watch unfold, especially if they're still going to do something. I think they're going to try to do something around repealing the Affordable Care Act and coming up with something they can try to pass. But also, if they're going to do tax reform, if they're going to do an infrastructure package, if they're going to pass a budget, this is just going to be very interesting to watch. And I think there's still, you could tell that there are big training wheels on the Trump administration still.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, Paul Ryan hasn't exactly been shown to ride a big bike yet either. And there's a lot of confusion, I think, about where they're going next. In the meantime, we've been, as Democrats and especially as progressives in the Progressive Caucus, we're moving forward, looking at when we come back later in April, releasing our Progressive Caucus budget, which is really the best statement of your values, and we'll introduce a lot of big ideas there. And I think that's going to be something for people to look at, real alternatives compared to what the Republicans are busy fighting over right now. And I think you're going to see a very busy, I think, April as we approach that April 28th deadline. That would essentially be a government shutdown if we don't do something that just happens to coincide with Donald Trump's 100th day. I think, we're going to, that week we come back, because we're about to go into a 2-week break, a lot's going to lead into that.
So there's so much there, Representative Pocan. And, we want callers to call in and talk with Representative Pocan. But I think Paul Ryan not only has shown himself to have training wheels, he fell off the bike with training wheels on. He had 7 years to plan, and it just failed. And I'm watching what's happening, and I feel like what we're seeing is the difference. So what the progressives and I'm going to say the grown-ups in Congress are doing is governing. And what you're seeing from the Trump administration and Paul Ryan is still political posturing and messaging. Like their ideas are really about scoring political points, not dealing with healthcare, which is 1/6 of the economy, right? I mean, that's the fundamental difference that I'm seeing, is that they're not actually interested in governing. Their ideas are not real. They're just political posturing.
Well, and listening to Paul Ryan when it failed, saying, hey, we're transitioning now, we're in charge. No, they've been in charge of my house since 2010, and they've had no solution offered, and yet 60-some attempts in votes to repeal the Affordable Care Act. So clearly they haven't done the hard work that it takes. If they really didn't like the Affordable Care Act, the fact that 20 million people now have access to health insurance, and pre-existing conditions aren't now going to exclude you from getting health insurance, and you don't have a lifetime cap, and that women pay the same as men, and on and on and on, all the benefits that have helped to hold costs down really over that period, all except for the last year. We finally saw a little bit of a spike. But, when you look at all of that and the fact that they still don't have an alternative, that really isn't a tax break for the wealthiest guised as a healthcare proposal, because that's what they really understand, right? They understand their wealthy benefactors.
Right.
They understand the people who fund their campaigns, who they hang out with at Mar-a-Lago, who they share $350 bottles of wine with. I mean, so the problem is they haven't transformed from that entity to a governing entity, but they've been in charge the whole time. You're right, though. All they ever do is make these platitudes about what they don't like about, and they had a boogeyman for them in President Obama. But now they really don't have anyone to blame but themselves.
In absolute contrast to that, And I want to take callers, so please call in to talk to Representative Pocan about what's going on in D.C. I'm not just trying to be super nice, although I follow your work, and you deserve the progressives in this country to be super nice to you because you are a leader, a stalwart leader on these issues. But this is also just the facts. You and progressives in the House and in the Senate have consistently offered a vision for the future of America that is far more detailed and in-depth and in the weeds, right? I mean, like, this is a real vision, the people's budget, as you talked about. Right now, Representative Lawson, and I think maybe it's actually at this exact moment, is introducing a bill to expand Social Security that I know you've co-sponsored, with 80% of the caucus is on board with that, right? These are visions for where we want to take the country. And the difference between, what you are doing and the progressives in the House and Senate and, the Donald's administration and Paul Ryan and falling off the bike with the training wheels is really stark at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, so you mentioned John Larson is introducing the Social Security 2100 Act to really reform how we do Social Security, to make it so it actually works in all the ways that we need to have it work. This week, a number of Democrats, led by Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal, introduced the College for All Act, another bill around college affordability. When we introduce our progressive budget that's going to come out, you're going to see a $2 trillion investment in infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our schools, our broadband, and in a much broader conversation about infrastructure than you've ever going to see come out of the Trump administration, or certainly out of the House Republicans, because they don't even believe in an infrastructure package. We have a path towards single payer in our progressive caucus budget. We take away some of the funds that are going into defense that aren't spent wisely right now, and make sure that we're spending them on individuals and programs, things like NIH and Pell Grants and other things. So it's a stark contrast, but you're right, Alex. We try to offer, we don't want to just say no, because there's plenty of things to say no to these days, but we want to offer an alternative path to show that there is a difference, because I think what we saw from the campaign, you can't just say, I'm not that person and get elected. You have to offer a real contrast.
I couldn't agree more, Rep. Pocan. We're going to go to a quick break here, and we're going to come back and give maximum amount of time to the callers who want to talk to you about your vision for where we take America that's in line with the will of the majority of the American people. You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Thom, and we'll be right back.